Okay, I'm going to start with a a how-to video on maintenance, what needs to be done. So I'm going to start outside with that. Stay there, baby. Baby's on a diet. He can't come outside. He'll eat cow poop. Let's start over here at the water. There's not really a lot that needs to be done, but there is a shut-off down there underneath that white cap. You can take the top off the tank, of course, and look to see what your level is. It's pretty full right now. About 2 feet from the top. So that's pretty good. The propane company I was using went out of business. We're at about 38%. Yeah, I think you have to call AmeriGas for propane out here, but I don't remember. It might be, I don't know, I'll write it down on the wall. But here's the switch system for the water. It's off right there. This is automatic. And there's manual. When the power comes on for the water tank, that light will turn on that you can see with the camera that's up there on that pole, which I need to go up there and adjust and fix because the wind got a hold of one of the cameras. There's 2 cameras up there, one points east. Wind got a hold of one of them and turned it all the way around, so I was looking at the pole. The weather station is out there also, which you really don't have to do anything for that. If it goes bad, it's bad, it's done. These are the filters. There's a cloth filter in here. They're both, I believe they're 150 micron, might be smaller. Both of these are. This is a regular oil filter. Just find more oil filters. I've got a couple of them here now. This one here will plug up first, and this one here you have to replace every so often. But this is a good system. I don't get anything into the big tank at all. So, and here's your fence charger. Plugs in right there. Go ahead and hook that up. Definitely want to leave this hooked up to keep the cows out of here. The drain, there's 2 drains. There's the main valve down there. That one feeds the tank. If you do any maintenance here, you have to turn that one off. And that one there is the overflow, and it just runs out there into the field. It does work. Now inside the water tank, there's a filter. There's a big beer filter. You have to take that out, clean it, and it'll probably last forever as long as you keep cleaning it. And up there in that catch, there's another filter. It's just a screen. You have to take that one out and clean it, get all the dead animals and the birds and the meteorites and stuff that fall on the roof. The water comes down the gutter, goes into another gutter, and the same on the other side. Then it flows into that tank and through those 2 tubes. It's a much better system than I originally started with. Inside. Sheldon! Sheldon's okay out there by himself. But that's the rainwater section of it. You want to come in? No, he doesn't want to come in. That's the rainwater section. So I'm going to shut this off and I'll start another one in a few minutes. Okay, back on the water system. I use colloidal silver and I use chlorine. So just for filtering the water for purification purposes, I use colloidal silver and chlorine. So what I do, this is colloidal silver here, but it's not made right. So what I've done, I'm experimenting with making colloidal gold. It's not going real well. This combination colloidal silver and colloidal gold that I wasn't happy with. I'll probably dump this into the rainwater tank out there to help purify it. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just not happy with the way it turned out. So what I do is I would mix. Well, I would pour the colloidal silver into the tank, and then I'd put maybe a quarter cup of chlorine in. So that works out pretty good. You can't taste the chlorine. Sometimes you can. You might smell it a little bit, but it's not so bad. It's ridiculous or anything. It doesn't burn your eyes. You can boil the water if you're worried about it, and it all comes out in the wash. It's really clean water, very, very, very clean. There's, like I say, there's not even a speck of dirt down there at the bottom of that big tank. But yeah, this is all PEX. Everything in here is PEX, so that works out really well. While I'm out here, up there is a box. That is the solar panel for these two boxes, and I believe there's a a fuse in that. Oh, don't worry about it. In that one, there may be a fuse. I don't remember if I put a fuse in that. There's definitely fuses on it, but I don't know if there's any in there. And then there's wires come out of that feed the weather station down there. I got tired of replacing batteries on the weather station, so I just hooked it up direct to the house. Going back inside on the water for the water system. This is the on-off. There's the off. Oh, that's the light. That's the pump. The pump is down here. If I can open that. The pump, pressure tank, extra filters, all that neat stuff is down here. Also in here is the for the washing machine. This deal here, the faucet for the washing machine. You can add. I could add a hot water line, but I don't really use the hot for washing clothes. This one here is for the water heater, the hot water heater. Turn that off when you're not here. Turn it on when you are here. And there's the hot water heater. It's direct vent out to the back of the house. Nice little system. That's about it for in here. There is a shut off under here also. If you are working on the house, I'd suggest shutting off the outside and the inside. That way you don't have any problems. Let's set this back down on the floor. I have a major dust issue. You have to sweep the floor almost every day. Just because if you walk around here barefoot, it's like walking in sand. As you can see, I'm running 3 laptops. I'm cooking the video from yesterday right now, and they take forever on this internet out here. But I'm on what is that? It's that satellite internet, which is slow anyhow. All over the house you have connectors for charging stuff. This one's 12 volt, and this one here is for phones and my GPS, stuff like that. The heater, I turn the pilot off when it warms up. It's a pretty nice heater. It keeps this house damn toasty. And the thermostat is over there on the wall. You have to turn it up all the way if you come out here in the middle of the night when it's 40 below. I leave it setting at 45 all the time when I'm not here, except during the summer. And that keeps the house really nice and toasty. Ham radio, microwave, A microwave, you could cook a ham in that and not have to worry about using up all your power. You've got more than enough. Making colloidal gold there, it's just been a trial and error type thing. It's got some color to it. It's supposed to turn ruby red. That down there on the floor did turn ruby red, but it wasn't what I'm looking for. Working on that. So anyhow, back. Okay, I'm still working on the colloidal gold. Been about an hour, and you can see there's no change. I don't think my gold in there has enough surface area. I might have to get some more. Running the microwave right now. Yeah, I'm cooking a potato. I'm going to go back and see how much amperage that's using. And the shell, of course, is being a pain. The microwave does make the fan turn on. It's using 31 amps, so probably about 25 amps after all the other stuff. No, wait a minute. I got 3 laptops running, and the refrigerator in there is running, so about 15 amps, roughly. Just from what I've seen before. We're charging at 44 amps. Now, in here, the things you have to do for maintenance, I'm going to turn this light on. I need to go ahead and make that light up there, put that light on a switch. The batteries, this one's been, I need to clean the surface on that one, and the rest of them all look pretty good. Probably need to get I think this one here I might have overfilled. The inside of these, there's a little ridge right down in there that you can almost see. And you don't want to go over that ridge. You want to just come up to where it's touching that ridge. And I think this one here I put a little bit too much in, so that might be why it's got the stuff on the surface. But that's what you need to do in here. These have to be checked about every, I check them once a month no matter what, but you can check them more often. They should probably be checked a little bit more often. But it was been over a month since I filled them, and they have not used much at all. So that's really all you have to do in here. Anytime you disconnect a controller, you have to make sure to disconnect this fuse first. For each controller, there's a fuse. You want to disconnect the panels before you disconnect the controller. You'll burn up the controller. You'll damage it if you disconnect the batteries before you connect the controllers. So if you're going to disconnect all the batteries, you have to disconnect, say, the 48 volt system. From here to here is 48. Down here, these two are 12. You have to disconnect this fuse and this fuse for these two. So that's this fuse and this fuse for these two. So these are the 60 amp controllers. These two are connected together through the pt-adp-port, and these two are the 48 volt battery chargers. So these two are 12 volt, and they're just going to this. That's all they're going to, is those. But make sure before you do anything to the batteries, you disconnect the panels first. These just go to the panels. That's all these fuses do, is go to the panels. And that's really all there is to this side here. If you know anything about electricity, it would not be hard at all to walk in here and say, oh my God, what a mess. But you can tell what's going on. You can see what's going on with everything. The 12 volt system, all of this is 12 volt, 12, 12, 12. And every socket and every light that's 12 volt in there is on its own fuse. So these ones here are for the load. This goes to an outside light out there and an outside light out here. These go to the house. And of course everything's wired individually. When you go up higher, you can see there are some wires that aren't in conduit, but they are in conduit down here. I just ran out of conduit, that's all it was. So all I have to do really, if I wanted to put those in conduit, is buy the conduit and put them in it. It wouldn't be hard at all. But every bulb in the house has its own fuse. Every socket in the house has its own fuse. And they're numbered. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And if you go into like the kitchen, excuse me kids, pretty good weird movie on. Like this one here is number 10. This one's number 1. This one's number 9. This one's number 1. I don't know why that one's number 1. I think this one and this one might be on the same fuse. That's how that works. Here's number 6. If I had it to do it all over again, what I would do is buy 8 gauge wire. Wouldn't even need to because there's not that much current. But I could probably do it with 10 gauge wire and run a 10 gauge wire into here, a 10 gauge wire pair, positive and negative, into here, a 10 gauge wire into the kitchen, and a 10 gauge wire into the bathroom. That's what I would do. And then in each room, like up there, I would have a fuse box. And then from that fuse box, I would run it to the individual system in here. I would probably have to turn off that ham radio, too noisy.
Time is 10.
There. I would probably, for the kitchen, I would probably have to run an 8 gauge because there's a socket down there on the outside for the water pump should I need it, and a light bulb there. It also runs the water pump, so an 8 gauge wire into the kitchen would have been a good idea, and then a fuse box up there. So that each room, bathroom included, would have its own 12 volt fuse box. All the lights in the house, all the lights are 12 volt. And that's pretty efficient, really. Everything, all the sockets. You can see a socket over there. There's one right here. There's one over there. There's 2 on that wall. They're all 12 volt. And of course I have 110 sockets also. I just have fewer of them. But these are the fuses for all of that. And when something burns out, the fuse boxes light up, so they're actually easy to find. And there's a package of fuses here somewhere. I lost my package of fuses. It was right there. Where did I put my package of fuses? Up here, this is a water pump. You put that into your distilled water, and you can pump it into the batteries. Make sure everything stays clean. You don't want any impurities into the batteries. Now the freezer is 110 and the refrigerator is 110. Keep that in mind. And you can see with the 2 freezers running, I'm drawing 6 amps. What else? And that's with all those laptops and everything going. This is the main fuse. This is the biggest fuse I have. This one goes to the inverter. I need to buy an extra inverter for a backup in case that one fries, which is entirely possible. These are, I think they're just connectors. There's no fuse in those. Yeah, there is too. These are fused connectors. Those are for the 12 volt system. Right there's the fuses. This is the 12 volt. So these are on fuses. What else? There's a main switch for the inverter. You don't want any big sparks or anything in here because these do have a little bit of hydrogen sulfide gas and they could go boom. This system here is for the wind generator, and I wouldn't even worry about the wind generator. It doesn't work. It's constantly on brake. This braking system has a built-in braking system, so when it's really windy and it doesn't need power, it's not going to turn. If I disconnect all three of these, the wind generator outside will go apeshit. It will go crazy. It'll fly around. If there's ever any maintenance need done, like adding a wire, these are 12 volt. If these are 12 volt here, or 48 volt. This one here is 12. If you needed to ever add a wire to this, make sure, damn sure, you get your screws tight. Otherwise, you'll end up with a mess. I actually melted down one of these because I didn't get a screw tight. What else? Here's your fuse box. I need to label all this. This switch here is for the inside light. The outside lights are both fused and they're on the solar panels so that when the sun goes down they won't turn on. So if you wanted a night light, you turn that on, and when the sun went down, that one there will turn on. But this is really, if you look at it and just follow the wires, it's straightforward. It's easy to follow. Very easy. Oh, I can't think of anything else. Cameras are all over the place. Not inside. I think there's two inside, but there's one. And that one's for the purpose of watching the voltage when I'm gone. And it's at 14.5 volts right now. It has a little voltmeter there. Sheldon's eating my wall. But really, as far as what to do in here, that's all there really is for maintenance. Cleaning, I want to make sure to keep the tops of the batteries clean. I need to clean all this off here. Because if you have water like this on top of the battery, you'll actually have current running across this and it'll cause your battery to die. And that's not a good thing. I think there's two of them here, that one and that one, that I may have overfilled. Yeah, that one's still full right where it needs to be, so that is what's going on there, is I overfilled them. Yep. So I'll have to clean the tops of those off. But you don't want a lot of dirt on there. You don't want to set a lot of junk on there because it'll cause your batteries to go bad. I can't think of much else. I'll just hang on to this one here and see if I come up with something else. I'll add it to this video. I'll be back. I've been running around here for a couple of days trying to think of more stuff that might need periodic maintenance, and I really can't think of anything. But the batteries, they need maintenance. The water system needs maintenance, and that is about it. The septic tanks are out there on the east end of the house. I just can't think of anything else that needs maintenance. Propane, I fill that every once in a while. If water's necessary, there's a friend of mine that will come out here and fill up the water tank. If there's no rain or anything, it costs about $145, but you know, that's a lot of water. I don't know of much else. I just can't think of anything else. I was going to go out and fly my dusty airplane, but as soon as I got it out and started charging it, the wind started blowing. I'll probably go out and fly it anyhow. Can't think of much, just common sense stuff. Air conditioner goes in this window here when it's needed. Not needed yet. I'm going to have to clean that air conditioner. I think maybe pull out the freezer and this thing. It's a freezer also, but it's our refrigerator. Got it set up on that. It's called Inkbird, the controller that controls the refrigerator for temperature. It's been running since we built the house, since we first started. That's probably the first thing we put in. And it's been running out here, and haven't had a single solitary problem with it. It's on 110. But I just can't think of nothing else that needs maintenance. So this is mainly for Sue's brothers and sisters and Sue herself if she has to come out here and spend time. Just can't think of much else. Been thinking about it for a couple of days, and I just really can't think of much else. So there's going to be things break, and of course the house isn't finished. Still have a lot to do. There's a gap down there on the floor, and there's a gap over here on the floor, but I'll work on those just one thing at a time. Try not to use too much water. Take short showers. Toilet's a bit of a problem. I've got it set for low water usage. So you may have to plunge it. Oh, you can see the dust. I put this cover on the bed to keep the dust off of it. You can see the dog dust. But I think most of my dust problem out here is the dogs. Because if the windows and stuff are closed, I just don't get very much of it. I sweep the floors once a day and clean stuff off. I have to put something over the laptops to keep them from getting all dusty. Been working on my stocks all day. Our investment broker's going out of business, so they've referred us to one called, I forget what it's called, but it costs money. And that's what we don't want to spend is money. So, but anyhow, I'm going to get this thing here published. Like I say, this is mainly just a maintenance video. Mainly it's for Sue's family, in case they have to come out here or something, or in case they come out. They're invited out anytime. Thinking about putting in a driveway over on the other property so that, they can bring a camper out if they want. And I'd like to be able to go out there on the other property too. I went out yesterday and put up a couple of bat houses. I've been building bat houses. I've still got work to do on both of those. You can only haul so much stuff out there. It's like a mile. It's at least a mile from that road on the south side to that road on the north side. So I've got a lot of property out here. Anyhow, I'm going to get back to it, start making more phone calls about stocks, and y'all have fun out there. I forgot how much I liked liverwurst. This is good stuff. Horseradish mustard. I'll be back. Okay, I was going to kind of end that video yesterday, but, or this video, but Sue wanted numbers. Oh, hush. And I got a message on the last video that actually asked for some numbers, which I thought was kind of cool. So I'm going to go back here and tell you what the numbers that I watch should be. So right now we're charging solar batteries at 22 amps and we have 56 volts on this meter. Now all the meters, this one's 56. Okay, that one's 12 volt on the wind, so it really doesn't matter. That one doesn't do anything. And we're charging at 14.5 volts on the 12 volt. So that's on the East 2 solar panels right now. Now down here you also have meters. It says 56.4 and 12.7. Now that is on a camera right there, so we can watch that one. And that camera is also says 14.3 volts. So that's the 12 volt. Let's look at the 12 volt first. The 12 volt is going to set about there at about 14.5 volts all day long, and it'll charge whatever those batteries need. So this one you may see the amperage go up to maybe 20 amps. You know, not very much. It's not going to get real high. So those batteries are going to idle most of the time because they don't really get discharged. But if I run something heavy on 12 volts, which I should do, I should get a good heavy charge into those. They do need it every once in a while. But if I run something heavy off of that, that will drop down pretty good. This may drop down to 13 or 12 volts, and your amperage will come up. So that's what you're looking at on this one here. We do need to put something on here that uses a lot of current, or add something. Maybe turn on all the 12 volt lights and leave them on all day or something, or all night, just to bring those down every once in a while, and then give them a good heavy charge. What the heavy charge does is it will boil the batteries. It'll bubble the batteries, and that knocks some of the garbage that builds up on the plates inside of there. It'll knock that garbage off, and the batteries will last longer. You start getting a lot of junk on the batteries, and it will cause the battery life to decrease. So I might do that. I might just go in there and turn on some lights and let these discharge for quite a while tonight. Give them a good charge tomorrow. The 48 volt system, that's all of these batteries here. The 48 volt system is on these two controllers. And what I'm seeing is right now we're charging at 23 amps. Got a hair in my mouth. I don't know if you can see that on this one. It's really hard to see. We're charging at 12.5 amps on this one. And 11.6 amps on this one. So that's about right. They're going to vary depending on how much charge amperage you have there. I haven't been using a lot since I've been here, so this may not go much over 23.6 volts per amps today. But what you'll see when it's charged completely, the voltage on this one will come up to close to 60 volts. I've seen that one get as high as 60.1 volts. Now, your inverter will shut off at 61 volts. It's internal, you can't change that. This one here will shut off at 61 volts. So you have to kind of watch that. If this one here gets up too high, it can shut the inverter off, but I've not seen that get past 60.1 volts. And I think that's probably about where it needs to be. Your amperage here on the 110 system, it's entirely going to depend on what you're using. Right now, I've got the TV on. That freezer is working right now. I can't see the living room refrigerator, but that's about right. So that's all the amperage we're using right now with all of the equipment running. Now I also have three laptops charging in there. The TV's on. So that's not bad at all. 3.5 amps for all of that. So I'm really happy with that. I remember with when this was all wired for 12 volts, this would be reading about 30 amps right now, right there. And that was just too much. I mean, it was really drawing on the batteries. And then you would see the charge voltage here get up over 99 amps, which is a lot. These little bitty wires here would get a little bit warm. Not warm, but warm. So that's what you're looking for. Your MT50s here, you can cycle through. I doubt that you can see it. They're really hard to see with the camera. But this will tell you what everything's working at. These give you the same information as this up here, only they're a lot easier to read. So it's charging right now at 12 amps, and this one's charging right now at 0.4 amps. So that, well, I'm sorry, these two are connected to these, not these. So these two are connected here. So this will tell you what you're doing. This is the west, so it's not getting any sunlight right now. And this one's the east. It's charging 11.9 amps. So that's pretty decent. What else? Now this, the 12 volt one here, the 2.6, that's what you're using here. And the 14 volts is the actual battery voltage. Now another interesting thing about these meters is you can look at them and see, like the wind generator has, in the 2 years that wind generator's been up there, it's only made 44 kilowatts. Now that is about my average 1 month power bill at my house on a really heavy month. That might be in the winter when I have all the electricity or the electric heaters running and stuff like that. The solar panels have created 3,918 kilowatts since I built the house. That's a lot of energy. 3,918 kilowatts since I built the house. Actually, since I put this meter in, which might have been a couple months after I put the first panels up. The house has used on 110, 3,332 kilowatts. That's how much this house is used. If you figure out what that would cost you, I think the solar panels have paid for themselves in this house. On the 12 volt system, we've used 579 kilowatts. That's a lot. But not a lot, really. For 12 volts, it is a lot. But that's what the 12 volt system is used. That's all the lights in the house, all the charge plugs, everything. They're pretty cool. It's a lot of current. I want to go in Excuse me, dogs. We're going to walk in here and turn on all the lights. I don't know if I remember how to turn this one on. Yeah, it's on. Okay, oh no, the outside lights won't turn on, they're on the load. All the lights in the house are on now. We're at 8.16 amps. Not bad at all. Let's see what our charge voltage has done. The charge voltage has gone up to 16.6 amps. Okay, but that's pretty much what you're looking for. The main thing is just get a feel of the system. Just you'll watch your system, and you'll know by watching it and keeping an eye on it if anything is unusual in all of your panels and all of your wiring and stuff. You got to watch this one. Make sure it doesn't get too high. I watch everything. Just watch everything and get a feel for it. But that's what they were asking. Now, I could hook up a laptop. I have to do a little bit of research. I believe you hook it up. I don't know where you hook it up, to tell you the truth. I'll have to do some research and find out where to hook up the laptop with this installed. With this not installed, I could just hook it up right here or to this line or whatever. And I could leave that laptop here and actually come back a month later and see what the panels are doing in the graph on the laptop. That's with the EP-Ever software. So you can do that. I like these EP-Ever controllers a lot better than the original system. You remember I had all those cheap controllers. This whole wall was just built with cheap controllers. There's a couple wires here that I need to put away. But that's the numbers. You're looking at, that's what their average is doing right now. That's what the 12 volt is doing right now. That's what we're using on 110. That's what we're using on 12 volt. And of course, the wind isn't doing anything. This fan is driving me nuts. So I'm going to go back in now and turn off all those 12 volt lights. I don't have them all on either. There's two more up there. I got a lot to do today. My stockbroker's gone out of business, Motif Investing, and they're transferring us to another company. And I'm not 100% sure that I like that company. If you want to get into stocks really, really easily, I found a program yesterday, an app for Apple, and it is called, Trade Space App. That's trade with a space and app. And it's a free system. It's made by StockTwits. Go to stocktwits.com, and that's where I get all my stock information. And then you use their app and buy the stocks. I bought a whole $10 worth today. Trying out the app, I put $10 on an oil stock. Bought a whole 3 shares. Oh my gosh, and it's gone up. But anyhow, back here, with all the lights off, it dropped down to 1.99 amps. and 14.6 volts. But it is true, I do need to get some voltage into these two. I need to give them a good heavy charge. So when I take off, I'm going to turn on some lights and leave them on. I might just disconnect the 12 volt. Take these two out for the day and let those batteries go down, and then let them get a good heavy charge over a couple of days. That's a good idea. I'll just disconnect the fuses and let those two run down. They're not getting the charge that they could be getting. I could have turned on the water pump. That would have helped bring it down. Anyhow, that's where we're at on numbers. That was a good question this morning in the comments. And what else? The ep-adp software for the computer has a section in it. Right at the beginning, it has a section that asks you a bunch of questions. And they're text questions like, what is your solar panel wattage? What is your name? What is your address? Where are you located? Blah, blah, blah. Those don't have a bearing on what these do. Those are a setup question. When you get into the setup on those, you'll start finding battery size, battery type, battery amperage. Those questions are relevant. So if you run into that, if you don't know your solar panel wattage or anything, I wouldn't worry too much about that. Your ep-adp chargers will do all that work for you. They know what's coming in and they know what's going out. So if I can get past these vermin, come on vermin, we're going to call this video done and go do something else. Oh, I moved this thing over here. That's my APRS for the ham radio. I moved it up there, but I'm going to build a shelf and put it over there on that side. It was interfering with my HF rig. Lots of buzz coming off that. But anyhow, y'all have a good day. Think I better add something. I'm going to go in the back again. Okay, I didn't go into surface charge. Now we're sitting here at 59.18. These are 48, this is a 48 volt bank. We're 10 volts over. If I disconnect these panels, I went ahead and disconnected the 12 volt like I said I was going to. I'm going to let that get down a bit. This is charging at 59.8. If I disconnect these panels right here and right here right now, this is going to drop. It's going to stay at 59.12 amps and slowly drop, very slowly drop. So it may stay at this 48.7 volt level for a while, and it'll take it several hours to get down to 49 or 48 volts. What I'm doing is during the night, these are actually running off the surface charge in the batteries. That's an overcharge on the batteries. And when it hits 48 volts, it's going to stay there for quite a while before it starts dropping lower. When you have a 12 volt battery in a car and you want to test it, you test the voltage first, and it's going to read, say, maybe 13.2 volts. What you have to do is you disconnect the coils on the car, and you crank the car for about 30 seconds, and that takes the surface charge off of the top of the batteries. Now, when you hook up your amp meter to test the battery, you hook it up, check your voltage, hook it up. It should be about 12.2, 12.5 volts. Then you can test the amperage of the battery. And the battery shouldn't drop below about 9 volts. If it drops below about 9 volts after about a 10-second, 15-second load, heavy load, then the battery's bad. So you have to take that surface charge off. So we're sitting here running on that 59 volt surface charge. It's about 10 volts over the actual capacity of the batteries. So that is something, it has come up in the past. Why is that so high? Now let's look at this. It's charging at 4.9 amps and 59 volts. This one's charging at 4.9 amps and 60, or there it is. Let's see if I can find that again. Okay, the panels are putting out 63 volts. 58.8 volts. This has nothing to do with surface charge. With that disconnected, we're sitting at 12.9 volts. And this one says 12.96. Okay. If I hook a voltmeter up here, from here to ground, I'm probably going to have about 36 volts. So anyhow, on the surface charge, that's not a number you have to worry about. What that does is when it hits 60 volts, or has a good number here, or 60 volts, you're bubbling the batteries. You want to bubble the batteries to clean off the plates, and it equalizes the batteries. This does have an equalization voltage in it, and I think it's set at 60 volts. But I just wanted to go into that a little bit because you'll see these will set there at 59 volts. If I watch this at night in the camera, it'll set there at 59 volts for a couple of hours before it starts dropping down. When it hits 48 volts, you're at the actual battery capacity. So, but anyhow, I wanted to touch on that real quick. I'm going to get back in there and start playing with my stocks, get this thing published. Y'all have fun now.